industrialism, consumerism, innovation, successes, consequences, and their connections with the Columbian Exposition of 1893.
Welcome, welcome to the Columbian Exposition. This is Chicago, the year 1893. The world is bristling with debate, diplomacy, and change from the Industrial Revolution.
The Industrial Revolution reformed society from agricultural to industrial. This sparked a debate about working conditions for laborers, increased consumerism, and the wave of immigration impacting the United States. Chicago is the center of this debate.
After the widespread fire of 1871, 100,000 people were homeless and Chicago had to rebuild. Factories lined the newly paved streets and the air was polluted with smoke from furnaces going day in and out.
However, with great change comes great debate. Worker unions struck against their bosses, and consequently, almost the entire Eastern Railroad was halted. Newsies were on every corner with headlines reading,
An industrialist dream of an ideal workers' community dies in a bitter labor dispute. Read all about it.
George Pullman of Pullman Palace Cars Company raises rent and lowers pay. Workers strike back, only 5 cents a copy.
the Columbian Exposition brought immigrants and jobs to the city of Chicago, impacting and contributing to the growth of the Industrial Revolution in America.
The Chicago World's Fair brought successes to modern-day architecture, creating an astonishing display that reflected French works, containing fountains, palaces, and boulevards. For entrepreneurs, the Columbian Exposition of 1893 was a time to showcase new ventures and sell new products.
The Columbian Exposition presented the image of a technological modern society, helping to reform negative opinions concerning progress and industrialism. America was quickly transforming into the urban powerhouse that it is today.
I can't believe I paid 50 cents, worth $25 in 2011, for a ticket to this fair.
Why, hello there, ladies. Enjoy the unique cultures and countries from around the world, represented in this single act of diplomacy. And speaking of unique, the fair just opened with the largest public recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
And did I mention I paid a Subaru ticket price of 25 cents just to get here?
Would you relax? We're here to have a grand time, so quit your beefing. I can't wait to see that new spinny thing.
Ah yes, that spinny thing is what was known back then and in present time as the Ferris wheel.
It was specially created for the exposition by George Washington Gale Ferris and debuted in June 1893. The ride lasted 9 minutes and made 2 revolutions.
The Ferris wheel raked in financial success for the city of Chicago, making over $200,000, which is more than $1 million today.
Come on, hot-foot it. Let's go grab our tickets.
Wait, look, there's Daniel Burnham. I read in the Tribune that he is the architect of this grand fair. He and the landscape designer, Frederick Olmsted, of New York Central Park, joined forces to turn the hideous Jackson Park into this luminous city.
This exposition pleases all of the senses and properly celebrates the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's journey to the New World.
The exposition offered 200 brand new exhibition buildings made with white stucco and illuminated with hundreds of streetlights. This design, combined with the theme of classical architecture, earned the title of the White City and would influence many architects such as Frank Lloyd Wright in years to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, over here we have our juicy fruit gum, over here we have our Antonom syrup, and over here we have our Pabst beer, all debuting for the very first time here at the fair.
Ooh, I've never seen these before.
You sure as heck have, my lady. These brand new innovations are the latest off the market and are of the utmost quality.
And what do they call that strange-looking beverage?
Well, that right there, little lady, is a genuine bottle of carbonated soda. Why, I predict that within a few years, everyone will be sipping this drink.
The debut of carbonated soda and hamburgers spawned the modern fast food industry.
I bet my husband would love to try that drink. Maybe I should buy one and bring it home. But then again, I wouldn't want to buy something I didn't need.
This is the Columbian Exposition. Why not buy it?
If you're sure, then I will.
Fairgoers at the exposition witnessed a change. America was populated with farmers, buying only necessities. At the fair, these farmers linked pleasure with buying, making the transition into a consumer society. It's debatable that these materialistic wastelanded at the fair are the reason we're in such a recession today.
Welcome to the Midway.
Look how many people there are here.
Too many if you ask me.
China, Egypt, Algeria, there must be at least 20 countries here, all for 50 cents.
Later, people will compare the fair to the popular Disney ride,
It's a small world.
because of the large representation of diverse nationalities and cultures. The fair was the largest peaceful gathering to date.
I am against Daniel Burnham and his ridiculous work schedule. I have been here for 12 hours straight with no overtime pay.
And those tourists always want to take pictures of us with their fancy Kodak cameras, commenting that we're the freaks of the fair.
And don't forget the working conditions. The laboratories are disgusting, and the machines are dangerous.
Well, I'm all for a strike if you are.
I'm in. Me too.
In May 1893, employees debated with Burnham for better working conditions and increased pay. Burnham reluctantly agreed, and when other workers' unions heard of this remarkable victory, they were encouraged to strike as well. In the years after the fair, several work acts were passed, improving conditions for laborers. Upton Sinclair would later write about the deplorable conditions of the Chicago meatpacking industry in The Jungle.
While the fair offers happiness for its visitors, in the rest of America, crowds of unemployed citizens were suffering from the recession.
I am greatly concerned about this fair. It has offered many jobs, but think of when the exposition ends. All those who work to keep it running will be without a job and on the streets.
I agree. And it doesn't help that immigration rates are rising. The Italian and Spanish are taking jobs that some unions think are rightfully theirs. I fear that the rising racial discrimination may cause crime rates to increase.
All over the country, banks were failing. Stocks were roughly dropped, and the depression known as the Panic of 1893 began. This would be the greatest depression Americans had ever known, only to be surpassed by the depression of the 1930s. By December 1893, over 16,000 businesses unveiled.
And in the local area of Chicago, an even more frightening monster lurked.
Wanted. Female stenographer. Must be pretty and preferably single. Submit a photo for application.
Herman Mudgett, more commonly known as America's first serial killer, H.H. Holmes, was at work in Chicago. He offered young women jobs and sold them life insurance, only to dispose of them in his block-long murder castle.
Holmes saw the fair as an opportunity, a cover of sorts. After all, many could disappear at such a large event.
Yet another reason not to go to this dreadful fair. Mayor Carter Harrison was shot 3 times the night of the closing ceremonies by some lunatic named Patrick Prendergast.
How dreadful. I don't know how we're getting on with the fair's events tomorrow. There was supposed to be a reenactment of Christopher Columbus's journey. I wanted to see that.
This fair is so glamorous, so exciting. It's almost like a magical kingdom where all your dreams will come true. Perhaps someday, someone will build a permanent fair as wonderful as this one.
That fair employee, Elias Disney, was the father of Walt Disney. Epcot is said to be almost an exact representation of the Columbian Exposition. Author Frank L. Baum created the Emerald City in The Wizard of Oz after being so inspired from his visit to the White One. While the fair offered inspiration for many, it spurred debate with others.
Don't you get it? This Columbian Exposition has brought nothing but sorrow. Murder, mayhem, and madness. Our country is in a depression, and instead of making money, everyone is here lollygagging and shirking their duties.
But think of the good that came out of this fair. It has seen over 6.8 million visitors and has united America in an event of diplomacy. It has reformed so many common ideas that change is bad. Why farm when you can use electricity? Why walk when you can bicycle? Why bicycle when you could ride on a trolley?
Change isn't always good. I'm perfectly happy working around the house myself. I don't need a newfangled machine doing my job for me.
For me, the Industrial Revolution was a blessing. I made lots of money and became the boss of hundreds. Workers were so afraid of standing up to me, for if they did, they would lose their place. Ha ha ha! The lower class bore the burden, and we, the elites, reaped the rewards. Sure, there were strikes, but with the rising tide of immigration, new workers arrived daily.
The Industrial Revolution was a curse for the lower class. I came to the factories looking for fair work, and what was I met with? Injuries with no monetary compensation. It was not until the successful political passage of the Food and Drug Act of 1906 and the Labor's Reform of 1936 that conditions began to improve.
The World's Fair was an economic success, grossing over $1 million for America during a time of recession. The fair provided Americans with happiness, if only for a short time. Consequently, America became the social melting pot of today, resulting from the diplomacy of countries working together to showcase their cultures.
The happiness associated with the thrill of buying drove America deeper into its recession. In a time when the country was not prepared for widespread epidemics, diseases such as polio left fairgoers sick. While historians debate whether the Industrial Revolution led to the World's Fair, or if the World's Fair promoted an industrial society, it begged the questions. Is progress worth the risk to workers? Are the economic successes worth the social failures? It's all in the eye of the fairgoer.